Hi Patreon, Joe here. So you've just caught me in a bit of spinning. Excuse my gammy finger. I did put a post up the other day there to explain that I had intentions of this video being out Thursday. We're on Tuesday now, so the potential is that it could be out on Thursday, if we're talking lifetime events. But I did a boo-boo on my finger. I'm not going to go into it because it even gives me the so my finger's been really tender. I've been trying to bend it and stuff like that. So anyway, it's been hard I couldn't do any spinning yesterday. It was that sore. So I'm trying to muddle through and get the spinning done today. I am spinning up some Shetland and I'll talk you through what my plan is for the next 12 months. Okay. Right, hold on a second. Just get my spinning wheel in a position where it was actually working. You know when you get it in a position, you're like, oh, that's a good flow, that's a good flow, don't move. Don't move. And I'm on a tiled floor, so it does slip now and again. So, I'm going to tilt you down. Not that you don't know how to spin, but I'll tilt you down. Excuse the dog bowl. I'm spinning on my new to me Ashford spinning wheel. So yeah, I'll talk you through what my plan is. So it was when I was doing the Christmas yarn advents and dyeing them and videoing them on YouTube, I come up with this idea, and it's something that I sort of mulled with over the years. And I thought what I would do is utilise the Patreon money, which I use the Patreon money to create content on obviously YouTube as well as for yourselves. And I thought what I would do is every month order a couple of skeins of yarn, so 2 skeins of yarn, because they can be expensive, especially if I'm going to be doing this project throughout the year. Because when you start talking about blends, you're looking at some blends, especially if it's got alpaca or camel or silks and stuff like that in it, you're looking at anywhere of £8, £9, £10 upwards. So what I thought would be great to find out, and I've always been very curious, when dyeing your milled yarn, regardless of the weight of it or whatever, will a hand spun yarn dye in the same way, and what would the effect look like? I.e., is it, and then work out the account of it, how much it's cost to create that yarn, i.e. the purchasing of it, as to whether it's going to save you any money, which it more than likely, obviously it will, but when it comes to dyeing it, will it look just as effective? Will it look just as pretty dyeing it? So my thought is, what I'll do is different types of preparation methods with the hand spun yarn. At the moment I'm spinning from a roving, so I've got a Shetland roving I've just bought. I will tally up the cost of it at the end of this video. I have got, and I'll show you in a second, milled spun yarn, 4-ply Shetland. I think it's called Braemar. We'll have a look at the label in a minute, and we'll talk through the costings of it all. I don't suppose really doing the dyeing aspects of it. Hold on a second. Sorry, I have a dog that likes to growl at people walking past the living room window because we're downstairs. So yeah, I want to do the costings of it. Is it more financially viable to do it this way? Will you get the same looking yarn as to, i.e. like the way that the dye infiltrates the spun yarn in the dye tray in comparison to the milled yarn? Does it look just as pretty, or does the preparation method make it look like it bleed and it doesn't settle the same way as a manufactured yarn? Because obviously it's been spun completely different. It's been done by machinery, so it has a more uniform look. Well, with hand spun yarn, for a lot of us, it looks more rustic. No matter what you do, not everyone has got the skill or the ability to make it look completely unified all the way through. Even when you go to ply it, you might have your bobbins looking absolutely perfect, and then you do your little yarn gauge, and you're like, oh yeah, you do your little yarn gauge and you're like, oh perfect, I have got a fingering weight or a superfine line covered, so I know that when I apply that, or hopefully when I apply that, it's going to end up looking like a sports weight. But I know, because it's Shetland, once it gets washed or dyed, it's going to bloom to a decay, more than likely. But it has that rustic homespun look about it. Would I still be able to sell it? That's another thing. What's the potential of being able to sell a handspun yarn that's been hand dyed the same way as what a mill spun yarn looks like once it's been hand dyed? So yeah, there's questions in there. The objective is to see, is it worth my while in the future spinning up handspun yarn in packs? I'm averaging with this one, which is really frustrating, and I don't know why. But once it's plied, I'm getting 124 yards from it. I will convert that into meters later on, for those that deal with meters and not yards. So yeah, I'm like, oh, that's not much. How come I've not ended up doing that? But then I'm not spinning it close up, and I can't get it super fine. I'm still getting used to this spinning wheel, you see. And plus, I've got this gammy finger going on. So yeah, I'm getting a unified spin. I can feel my wheel moving again. I'm getting a unified spin as to what my eye can see. And when randomly I pick up my yarn weight measure, I'm getting a consistent four ply single. And that's another thing I'll do as well. I will do singles throughout the time, and then when I get an expensive yarn, I will look to see if I can get it as a blended roving, i.e. Say a merino and tussar silk or something like that, or a macchiato, which is a caramel silk and merino blend. But then I'll also buy in breeds, other breeds, not just the Shetlands, but you've got like your Kent Romney and stuff like that. They're not great sellers for me, but if there's a breed that you'd like me to have a look at while I'm doing this experiment over the next 12 months, it might go into next year as well. We'll see how popular the video becomes. Then I'll also, when you've got if it works out far too expensive to buy in roving that has the really luxury blends like cashmere and Mulberry silk and all the rest of it, I will blend up into art bats and then spin the art bats off into yarn in an undyed state and a natural state, and then dye them off as the whole point of this is to spin, blend, or whatever it needs to do to see if it's more cost effective to do it yourself, i.e. the blends, or to buy the rovings in. So yeah, that is what I've got planned for Patreon this year. Now, as I said the other day there, some videos will be shared every fortnight over onto YouTube from Patreon. So every week you guys are going to get the video. You'll get first chance to see some of them. And then by the end of the week, it will be released onto the YouTube platform permanently so that they can see it, because I want you guys to get the first release of anything that I come up with. Whether it's wet felting, needle felting, I'm going to try and do a few more different topics this year, just to make it a little bit different for me as well as for you, because you become a bit complacent when you're doing these videos. And I've had a really rocky 2 years, well 18 months, family loss and everything else, and I just haven't been in the right head frame, so I've just stuck to what I do best. But this year I'm going to do a little bit more experimenting, and that's the whole point of this. So if you see a heavily edited video pop onto YouTube and it's got the dyeing section of these videos in there, they won't be getting the full episode. They won't be getting this little intro talk. They won't be getting the last of it and the results and what my thoughts are on the final results or the budget part of it. So if you see that section of the video go up there, remember that you guys are getting the full video over here on the platform, okay? You're not missing out on anything. The YouTube lot are, and the reason I'll be doing it like that, or I may release it to free members on Patreon, so that it just encourages them to try and come and become a member so that they can see these videos. So I really need to start promoting the Patreon as well, just to try and get a bit more of a bigger community, and people going, oh, I'm really interested in that. I might just pop over and actually join for £3 a month, which is really, really important for me as a content creator, because then I'll be able to do more videos. So, well, I say more videos that have different topics, and then I can support the financial side of that through the Patreon. Okay, so I've just plied that off, I've just spun that off. I'm now going to take this off. I'll be back with you in a second while I get my laser K out and sort it all out, and get a swig of my coffee before it goes cold. So I'm just nearly at the end of plying up this Shetland wool. I didn't see the point of you having to sit there and watch me just spin up plain white wool. It's a bit of a laborious task, and it's seriously boring, mind-numbingly. You just sit here spinning, you don't even see any colours or anything transferring through the wool. But hey-ho, that's what we've got to deal with. But what I've got is, I'm coming to the end of my bobbins, and if you ever got to the end of 2 bobbins that you're applying and like, oh God, I've got more on one than I've got on the other. Well, I don't know if you guys have got a little trick for making sure you use them all up on the same plied yarn, but I have a little trick that I just did it one day and I'm like, oh, that's actually really good. I don't have to ever worry about it. Now, obviously, you can wind off your bobbin onto and make a cake of yarn and then spin inside outside and ply them together, which is a brilliant way of not having any wastage left from your freshly spun, sometimes expensive wool, freshly singles that you've done yourself. But I've got a little bit, I'm nearly at the end of my top bobbin. I'll show you. I'm nearly at the end of my top, and I've got what looks like about 2.5 meters left on my bottom bobbin. So I'm going to do something in a sec and show you what I do. And I'm sure I've shown you this before when I was doing roving techniques, and I've still got to bring up a couple more topics on roving techniques, which you will start seeing again in the next month or so. Which I will actually talk to you about in a bit. So I've got the leader here. Can you see it's a different colour? And I'm going to bring this video in closer. We'll bring this video in closer so you can see what it is I'm doing. So I'm taking that leader off, that yellow one here, which is a cotton. I'm going to try and unravel it from my other yarn that's still on the bobbin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull this out a little bit. I wrap that around my mother of all arm there and try and keep that so it's out of my way for the moment. Come on, behave yourself and stop showing off. Right, so all I do is just wrap the other leftover yarn on the other bobbin around my hand, and I make sure that section is there and it's not tangled up. Can you see it's here? It's not tangled up in the yarn that I'm winding. And I try and space my fingers out a little bit so that there's a bit more give, and fingers crossed there shouldn't be any reason for it to get tangled up when I'm working with it in a minute. Right, so that's me come to the end of that bobbin. There's just literally a couple of meters. There's nothing worse. You try and like figure out what it is that you're doing wrong, and we all do it. It's an absolute nightmare, and I still haven't figured out how to make sure that I spin all the yarn at the same time. So what I'm going to do now is, there's that yarn there and it's splayed apart. You can see that I've got the 2 pieces there, and this piece I'm going to put to one side, but I'm going to get the end of the leftover of the bottom bobbin and I'm going to put that in the middle of that one, and I'm going to run them together. So I'm just going to bring it down so it sits perfectly with one. There's the rest of the yarn here, and there is the yarn from the top. So you've got 3 pieces to start with. Okay, and I'm just going to get my wheel going and then I'm just going to gather them together. So I'm essentially, see, completely gone. You can't even see where it was, or a tiny little fluff of extra, but you can't even see where that join is. Bit of a magic join. And then I literally just going to treat it like a centre pill bowl, using the outside and inside of the yarn that I was spin off the bobbin. I just wiggle my fingers through there a little so it comes off nicely. And again, and I'll just keep going until it's done. How easy was that without having to turn it? I sometimes find when I put a freshly spun yarn into a centre pill ball or into a cake, look at that, into the cake of yarn, just spin inside outside strands, that it wants to just gather up in the middle, and it drives me nuts because it just pulls it out and you end up with a lot of bath. And sometimes it's just so frustrating, especially when it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, that it just gets more and more tangled, and you sometimes feel like you spend more time trying to undo the knots or where it's jammed itself together. That is a perfect alternative to what to do with your leftover yarn on your bobbin. Spin it off. Just, you've got your three piece there's the yarn off of this bobbin here, so you've got the yarn here, the section that's finished you put there, and then you come in with the end part of your second bobbin once you've wound it around your fingers, and you insert them together so they sandwich, and then you just ply them off, and it looks like that's how it's supposed to look. It's just the bonding. So once it's been washed in a hot enough water, then that just felts together, not a problem. So now I'm just going to wind this off onto my niddy noddy. Move that out of the way, try and loosen off this a little. Like so. Just hold that there. Hopefully I won't knock my finger because it's very, very, very sore and tender. I'm going to stand up for this because it's a bit awkward trying to do this while I'm sitting down. There we go. And then we're going to get this in the sink with the other yarn, which I will show you in a moment. I'm going to stand over by the kitchen window so I've got a bit of natural light because it's a bit dark. We've got rain coming and you can't gauge it. The house is a very old Victorian house, and the windows are very narrow, long but narrow, so we don't get a lot of light. Right. It's like I think I've actually filled this bobbin a little bit more than the other one, which means I got into a proper rhythm before I cut my finger on spinning. But I think I've exceeded my 124 yards with this one because the bobbin was very, very full. But that's all right. I will do a test swatch afterwards at the end of this video to show you what the yarn looks like when it's knitted up, and then I will put all three, I've got 3 skeins of 100 grams, and I'll put all 3 of them with the milled yarns on the website to sell. Right. I say nearly done, but not quite. So is there any questions? Is there any prep techniques or when it comes to washing your yarn that maybe other people don't do? Now, when it comes to these yarns, over the next couple of months, I'm going to try and establish the best method to preparing, as in i.e. soaking the wool, any methods before I do it, just to see what the outcome is and what looks better. So do you think I should, once soaked, thwack it, the wool, to help felt it and set it into place? Do you think that I should wash and let it dry and then soak it again for dyeing? Do you think that I should maybe do it like you would do singles, a hot, cold, frigid felt insensate motion to see if that helps to get a better aspect or better dye, a dyeing look, hand dyed dye, not so much saturation but effect, i.e. is it going to look same or similar to the hand dyed yarn? Is it going to bleach through, as in drown out and not have any unique characteristics, as in if I do a speckled yarn, is that speckling going to actually be pronounced like it would do or would be, or the effect it gets on the hand the mill dyed yarn? So there's those sort of thoughts and ideas. So this time when I soak this, I'm just going to put it in a normal hand wash. I will get my, the only I've got a thermometer over there. The only thermometer I can find at the moment is my jam one, so that'll do. If that's all you've got, just use your jam gauge, or your temperature thermometer will do the same job. It doesn't really matter. You're only putting it in the sink anyway, okay? You're not putting it in the dye tray when you're dyeing, so it's not going in your citric acid. Not that it would do you any harm once it was properly washed afterwards, but for all intents and purposes, try and use something that's not going to be used in food. Anyway, so there's my wool. I'll have a quick count of what we've got. I'd be interested to know if I've actually got more than what I have over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66. We've got 170, so that's 140. So I've got an extra 20 yards out of that. That's fine. That means that when this goes on the website for sale, there will be, look at the balance on that. There's not much twist as such in there, is there? Looks really, really good. And let's have a look to see what it's sitting at yarn wise, weight wise. Let's have a look. So it sits comfortably in a worsted. It sits comfortably in a worsted and in a DK. That's fine. I haven't got a problem with that. That's just about average for me anyway when it comes to hand spun yarns and plying. What was I on about? Yeah, so when I'm always chuffed with my balance and stuff, you see. I very rarely have something is absolutely full of energy. So what I would end up doing is got 100 and 100 and 100, so that's 300, and then 40, 20, so 380 yards of wool will be sold together as one item. So yeah, that'll go on the website. It's got a nice balance to it, and I thought, well, if I do it like that, because what wool I'll be dyeing with this. Let's go and have a little move over to the other side. So there is 2 of the 100 gram Shetland hand spun wools that I've got. The other one's over there. So those there plus that one will go on together, and we'll dye. I'm going to dye them all together in the same dye tray as well. So the technique exactly the same throughout the dye tray. I could use 2 dye trays, but I just think that it'd be better to do them all together, because when you watch other people doing dyes, like people that just concentrate on hand dyed yarns, you always see that they put 4 to 5 skeins of yarn in any one tray. So that's how I'm going to be working with these. I want to dye them all together so you get the exact same batch. Okay, So yeah, so that's why they do it. You'll see them do five, maybe up to 6 skeins in any one tray. And it'll be like a 4-ply with 5 skeins in, and then there'll be a DK with 5 skeins, and then there may be a lace weight with 5 skeins in it, so that they can build up a bulk. And that means that each one of those, if somebody wanted to buy 2 or 3 of them, then they're from the exact same dye batch. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I want to dye them all together in the exact same tray. I've got a really large tray. So I've got this one, which is a Shetland, and it's a 4-ply, and it's called Braywick. So that's what we've got. 100 grams of each. And once these are dyed up, these ones will be going on the website as well. And then throughout the year, all the yarns that I do spin and dye will all go on the website, and you can go over there and pop over and go and purchase them if you wish to. I also want to mention as well, as the Patreon member, you've got an active discount code. You literally just type in Patreon if you don't want to use the Woolly deal. Sometimes you get 15% off the website if you just type in Patreon as capital letters for this, right? Also, you can use it. You might get free post on there. It all depends. I chop and change it every couple of months. Okay, so just remember to use that code. I have to make sure this part of the video doesn't end up over on YouTube. Everybody be using it. I'm gonna have to change that, I think, at some point to something else. It's easier to write that as a member, because not everybody pops in and reads the descriptions on the video. So I just wanted to let you know via the video, that's what you have to do. And then I'll have to bleep that out if this video ever comes up live over on YouTube. I have to re-edit that for some time in the future. By that point, actually, I would have changed it, so that's fine. Joe's such a moron sometimes. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these in the sink. I've got some dishes in there, so I'm going to go off and do those. I'm going to go and grab a cup of coffee, and I will be back with you in a moment, and we'll just talk about the temperature that I'm using in the water. Okay, so I've put my thermometer in the sink, and it's saying it's sitting round about 41. Okay, I'll just see if you can see that. Oh, no, not quite, wrong angle. But it's saying 41 Celsius, or just shy of, I would say around about 95 Fahrenheit. You just want it hot warm, like hand hot, okay, it's ideal, and enough water in there to make sure that it's soaked and saturated. And you want to leave it for at least half an hour in the sink. Now, if between 39 and 49 maximum on soaking wool, because you don't want to shock it as such. But then I suppose that's more to do with if you're washing a fleece. I'm washing wool that's already gone through the process. It's already been cleaned and scoured and all the rest of it, so it's a little bit different. So to a point, I want this to shock, but then once it goes in the dye pot, it's going to be really, really hot anyway, so it is going to work together and act differently as a yarn once it's been dyed. So there we go. So I'm just going to leave that in the sink. No water, no wash up liquid or anything like that. It's just the water, clear water in my sink for half an hour, and then we'll get the dye trays out, and I will look for a colour way. I'm not going to do solids or anything like that. I'm going to experiment with different colours and let you have a look, and then you can have a try yourself at home. Okay, catch you in a bit. Okay, so I've managed to squeeze all 5 skeins in this. Ideally, I think because I'm using handspun, I would have A, been better off using a separate tray for the handspun, or B, only doing 200 grams of skeins. But because of the yardage I was getting, I thought, and the fact that ideally I'm putting it on the website, I wanted to make sure that there was more than enough yarn there in yardage for someone to create a project, as I'd be selling them together. I suppose I could have done 2 skeins and you've ended up with 240 yards, but I thought the 3 skeins together, it makes a nice bundle set. Anyway, I've got them all in the tray and I'm going to start laying them in. So I'm just going to add some extra water in here. They've been sat soaking in the sink for half an hour or so. More than enough time for them to do stuff. I've put citric acid on the top and I'm just going to squeeze that down. I didn't want to put a lot of water in there because I've got quite a lot dye stock solution going in. So I'm going to start with apple green. So I'm going to go down this end and I'm going to pour it right over the top like so, and I may add in some more water in a moment. Then I have got this blue, I think I'll definitely be adding in more water, and then I have got midnight blue up the top here, because ideally what I want is for the it to wash together. So I'm just going to put in another extra cup of water. I don't want it to overflow, you see, because I've still got 3 more pots of water to go in here. But obviously the yarn is soaking up every splodge of moisture that I've got going. So I'll just pop that down there and we'll give this a good squelch. There we go. Try and get the coverage on this yarn. So we've got midnight blue. Oh, is that indigo? I think this is indigo. I'm trying to get them to bond together in the tray. Ah, there we go. And then I'm going to turn the water on for a heat, and then I'm going to flip it over once the water cools back down again. So we're going to go with that for now. So we've got 2 tones of blue on that side and a green. It's already got citric acid on, as I say, and we just want to bring the water up to a nice heat, but we don't want it bubbling and we don't want it spitting. Try to find an old towel to wipe my hands with. Okay, so we're just going to let that do its thing. Okay, so I'm just flipping the tray around a little bit just so that the heat can reach into this section of the yarn. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but you know what? It's all about experimenting. It seems that the dye is obviously sitting right on the bottom here, which is not where I want it. I want it up here, because the whole point is to add, I want 4 shades of blue, or a purpley blue, blues, turquoise, and sort of peachy colour to go down this end. But the dye stock saturation has gone completely here, so that's fine. But my blue, yeah, that one's struck. Green's nearly struck, but my midnight blue is having a right old moment with itself. Well, my indigo, it's still got lots of colour in it, I think. Where we at? No, it's nearly clear. I think it was just one area. There we go. It's an area over here that's got a bit of blue in it. So I need that to saturate a little bit more. This looks like it's struck, which means I need to, in a moment, turn off the heat and let it cool down so I can flip it over, and I'll stick you back on when I do that. But it's far too hot for me to touch at the moment. But yeah, I need that to strike a little bit more in that corner. So I think I'm going to have to turn that around like that so it strikes over this side. This side's all clear in the tray, well, nearly all clear. But this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's about me having a play so you guys can see, or you might spot a mistake, or you might do it differently. Then you can put it in the comments, and then by the end of the year we'll have perfected this and we'll know exactly what we're doing. So the first thing that I will point out is, remember, all I did was soak the freshly hand spun wool in the sink. So maybe that's where a problem has arisen. Maybe in the next one that I do, next month in February, we maybe pre-wash this and thwack it so it elongates it and felts the wool a little bit more so it's got a bit more structure to it. Maybe that's what we'll do next time. So those are questions that we need to have a think about for improving the way that the dye takes to hand spun yarn. And that's what this experiment's about. And I hope you enjoyed this next 12 episodes over here on Patreon about how we put these together. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. So I'm just letting that dye strike in there. I'm going to let this cool down. It'll probably take about 40 minutes or so for me to touch it. And then we'll, where are we at? Is it any better? Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. We're nearly struck all the way through on that. It's clear on that side. We just need to get this bit to do as it's told. That's fine. That's not a problem. Oh, I better flip that over. I don't want that melting in the heat. Yeah. So I'll catch you in a minute once this is cooled down, and when I'm going to flip it over, I'll come back and have a word. So I'm just flipping these over. Just literally turn them around. I'll just twist my tongs around so I know that that's the front and that's the back, and then pop them back in and try and get them in the uniform alignment that they were in to start with. Okay, so that's really what you want to try and do. You're just trying to make sure that when you put your next colouring on, that they've got their alignment colourway all matching. And then here's one of the hand spun yarns sections. I'll just pull that because it's trapped underneath the other one. Twist my yarn around, flip it about. There we go. So I know that the indigo is seeped through quite a bit on here, but that's all right because we've got midnight blue going on next, which is quite a bold colour. So that's what we're going to be working with. So we've got turquoise going on next, and we've got a peach going in next, which I know sounds a little bit odd, but we're working with it, right? This is what we're working with. This is what I'm doing. So I'm going to put my turquoise through the middle here. Okay. And then I'm going to put my midnight blue up the top here. Mind, we've still got water in the thingy, in the base, and I'm going to put my peach up here. Now I'm going to fill my cups up a little, just add a bit more water to help dilute that down a bit. I just use some water at the tap. There's midnight blue. Try and break that down a bit more, and then a bit more of the turquoise, and add a bit more water to context into the bottom of here because I want to zhuzh it about a bit, and we want these colours to sort of blend in together. There we go. Don't need to put any more citric acid in there because there's plenty anyway. There we go. Just need to push that down, and then that one down. So the colour strike, I want to try and avoid having any bold sections in there. Yeah, so that's what we're going with now, and we're just going to let that heat pick up a little bit because we obviously put cold water in there, and let that strike through. If you're watching this dissection now, if you'd like to see the results of this colourway, you can go over to Patreon and watch the full video and about the experiments that we're doing over the next 12 months, a bit more detail. Then please go over. You can join as a member for £3, as little as £3 a month, and come and join over in our community. Put in your questions, any queries or any thoughts, any ideas or anything like that. You can come over and join us over there, £3 a month is not a lot of pennies. I know it's a lot for some people, but it just helps me to be able to produce more videos and more valid content and a lot more discussion topics, and actually maybe delve into a few more different crafts that might be more down your niche, but you're just curious about what we're up to here today. Then please do come over and join us. So for now, I'll say goodbye, and I will catch you next week with a spinning video that I'm planning. Thanks very much. Okay, Patreon lot. So here we go. So we're just going to let this simmer away, do its own little thing. It'll take about 10 minutes, if that, usually. I've actually double spooned my citric acid in there. I wanted to make sure it was a little bit stronger to strike in. And now what I love about the Shetland wool is it gives a lovely, once it's dried, it gives a really lovely dusky look. It's the word muted, maybe. You've got bold colours, and the dye strikes it really lovely. But it's more of a dusky, muted sort of characteristic to the yarn. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. We'll catch back with you in a second. Do you want to see washing it? It's not really does anything. I've filled up the sink at the moment with some extra warm water, roughly about 40 degrees. This is obviously going to be a lot hotter while it's in here, so it'll cool down pretty quickish, and then I'll stick in the spinner, which is no problem, and then I'll dry it. So I think what I'll do is I will catch you for a synopsis once this is dried tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's probably the best bet once we take this out and you can see the results of it. I'll put some pictures on of the process that I'm doing now. Look at my finger. The pictures of taking them out the tray, sticking them in the sink, those sort of things. Those are things you've seen me do lots of times before, but if I do any more, then this video is going to take forever. And then I'll get the fire lit and put the yarns front of the fire, and I will catch you tomorrow and you can have a look at the results. And I will put my thoughts down, and I'll let you know what the price difference and equivalent is of creating this yourself at home. Okay.
Centre where he will be speaking just behind me. But Anthony, all of these issues, great power rivalry with China, the war in Ukraine, the situation in Gaza, the war that we saw last year with Iran, and then the protests that we've promised. Instead of talking about and NATO, a threat to NATO, and how the Europeans are going to deal with its own threat.
Remember, the president campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. He didn't want to release them. He had his Attorney General say that they didn't exist. Then he had to admit that they existed. Martin Taylor Greene gone from the Congress as a result of this whole thing. And yet only 2% of the Epstein files have actually been released. And so when you're reflecting the president of Venezuela, you're going to talk about that more than the Epstein files. If you're potentially suggesting no military strike against a NATO ally in their sovereign territory, well, the focus is going to be on that. So to me, this is part of the strategy. It's certainly a distraction. But what I worry about is he continues to escalate these types of distractions and continues to escalate this rhetoric. At some point, somebody's going to look around and say, okay, we have to turn the bazooka back at the United States. We're going to ratchet up the tariffs. There'll be $180 billion catastrophe for the American consumer or for American businesses trying to enter the European market. And that's just very, very bad for everybody. So, what I'm always curious about, and no one ever gets there as a journalist, is what is the end game? What is the vision that you have? And they ask him what the philosophy is of MAGA. He said something very interesting. He said it's whatever he wants.
Okay, so we're back again. So all the wool's dried and sorted, and I've wrapped it into skeins. So, yeah, interesting. Come out, and I'm going to call this. It'll be on the website. They'll be available. The mill spun Shetland. Okay. I saw it come out looking. It looks really nice. So I did the 2 different shades of blues, which you can see now. Slightly purpley looking, and then we've got the turquoise in there, and then we've got the apple green, and then we have got the orangey peachy colour in there as well, and some of it's bled, so you've got little tones and hues in there, so you've got like a sort of mucky grey colour. I say mucky, but it's not, it's just where the colours have bled together. Really lovely to work with. You can feel the bloom in it now that it's been washed and everything else. I have done you some samples. Thanks, Liz. I did do some samples, so I'll pop you a picture up in a minute. I did a crochet. I took one of the hand spun skeins, not the manufactured yarns, because that's just going to be a nightmare to try and reskin it up again so it can go on the shop. But what I have done is trying to switch that around again. That's a bit of a tongue. It's really thick, not thick in the sense of, but it's got a feeling of bounce in it, and it wants to give back. The more you try and twist it, the more it wants to come back out of what you've put it into. So we've got those, and they look really, really good. I'm going to call them strobe, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to pop up a picture now of a crochet picture that I did, a beret. So I was in the middle of doing a beret, and I did it with one skein, and I got so far and I couldn't quite get the rim of it in there to show you what it could look like as a crochet project, but it worked really, really well. I used a size 6mm crochet hook, and it was all double stitch front and back cables, so front back pillaring. So I did that, and that's what that looks like. So you can see where all the colours are speckled around. The most dominant one is obviously the darker blues, and the oranges and the greens just pop in now and again, don't they? Look really, really pretty. So the hand spun looks like that. Now I am putting the hand spun together as one job lot on the website to sell together, because especially after I did the test sample, I didn't do the full size of the beret. I only did 11 rows. I needed to do 12, 13 before I started doing the cast off, and I knew they just wouldn't have enough. So that's why I thought I'll just take a picture of it. I'll do enough of it to show the structure of something with a patterning in it and things like that. So I've got in total 170 yards, 124 yards, 124 yards. So round about, no, not 170, 140. So I've got 370 yards. I'll proper count them up and get them when I put them on the website later on, take photographs of them. But that's the hand spun. Now remember, it's rustic. So if you're spin curious and you're not quite at the stage of being confident in spinning, or something you'd like to learn but you haven't delved that far, then I do spun yarns. But my wool's very rustic. I don't get, unfortunately, you see the stretch in that because it's the Shetland. Unfortunately, I just don't get enough chance to spin a lot, but that'll change this year, and whatever I spin on these projects, I will put them onto the website. So there we go. So it looks really nice. It's very rustic. I've measured it. It's an average of a DK to worsted. You've got, occasionally there's some really skinny bits in it. But remember, I have been spinning this with a gammy finger, and I don't get a chance to spin that often. I'm a confident spinner. But my average spin weight is a sport to a DK weight. But there we go. So we've got this lovely duskin. This is what I was on about the other day. We have more of muted tones when you spin with a Shetland, but it's great. So I thought, well, if I set the listing for all 3 skeins, you've got just shy of 400 yards. I'll put meters up in here, what the equivalent is, in a second. I'll pop it up on the screen. You've got the equivalent of just shy, around about 370, which is more than enough to be able to do either a nice scarf, a little weaving project, because it's a decent will to do a weaving project if you just use it as a weft, or get yourself a nice hat and a pair of mittens or something like that done. Mittens will look really nice with this. I used for knitting the swatch, which I'll show you now. There's the swatch here that I did, and I like how it does strobing. See, I've got these colours down. I'll flip the camera around so you can see properly. In a second, let's have a little go, and I'll get you. So there we've got this. So I love how the blue, because there's so much of the darker shade, which looks like it's sort of muted into the one. Oh, sorry, my plastered finger's in the way of the screen. I love how it's given that effect of looking like it's striping. But then you've got the orangey that pops through, and it sort of strobes and kaleidoscope way all the way through. This is a swatch of 30 stitches. And I'm just getting to 25 sort of square on it here now. And I've done it in a garter stitch at the bottom, just so you could get the look of what it looked like if you were doing a pearl knit. And then you've got the plain knit here. But you can see like the blues, and it is sort of nearly stripes all the way through. And then you've got the hints of the orange and then the greens on that. Now, obviously, it's not in a larger project, so I can't give you an idea. But for you lot out there that are experienced knitters, this is the effect you're going to get. So, the synopsis now. State of my hair. Right, so, synopsis. Okay. So the way that we did the dye pot, I'll put the picture up again here so you can see it. I did take pictures while I was doing that, where we had it just spaced out. It was learn by error. I should have really put them both, the hand spun in one tray and the Shetland 4-ply in another tray, or mix them up together, whatever, because the tray was crowded. But I did get a decent saturation through them both. So really, technically, it's mute. It did work. It doesn't really matter. But for spatial awareness and everything else, if I was doing a different type of dye effect, I don't know how that would have worked. But for this one, it did what I wanted it to do, and I'm quite happy. Now, when it comes to the cost of it, okay, so the Shetland wool that I ordered from my supplier, was called Braywick, and it's a 4-ply yarn, and it's 100% Shetland wool. It's 350 meters in total. The price of it is £6.48. Okay, now the hand spun Shetland, which is the British wool, roving wise, to buy that it was £2.70. That's including the tax as well. The yarn's the same as well. If I wanted to spin a project, or spin for a project, say like a cardigan, okay, where I needed 1,000 meters or just over 1,000 meters, I had a little think about this, because I thought maybe you guys would be curious about that as well, and how much it's going to cost you extra to be able to do it. So if you love to spin wool, and that's the whole point of these next 12 months ideas, is just to see, is it more cost effective to do it yourself and dye it, or buy the yarn in? Okay, so for a project for this one, using the manufactured mill spun wool, a 4-ply Braywick 100% Shetland wool, it's £6.48 for 100 grams. So times that by 3 works out roughly about £19.50. Great, that gets me, Iona, will you stop it please? That gets me approximately 1,050 meters. Okay, so there we go. That's what we're looking at. Now, if I want to use a Shetland, I need to buy, and I just want to let you know as well, Shetland wool micron count is 29 to 31. So it's a mid-range warmish wool, but it's one of those jumpers. It's one of those wools. Personally, I don't wear it close to my skin. It's my layering wool, okay? It's got a 9 centimeter staple length. We're talking as the rovings, okay. Potentially you can spin it as a 4-ply. I'm not very good. I can get my singles down to a fingering weight, but when it's plied together, it ends up like a sport to DK weight. So that's just my average, really. I can't get that any thinner than that. I haven't got the confidence in myself to spin any thinner. Maybe that's something I need to work on for future times, but consistently I'm best with a 4-ply to DK weight when I'm spinning, or a fingering as a singles. So anyway, I digress. £2.70 it costs you for 100 grams of this as a roving, okay. Then you want to spin it up. Now if you're looking for 3 grams 300 grams of what I've spun, to get me 338 meters, or roughly 370 yards, it cost me £8.10 for 300 grams of roving. I'm going to need 3 times that, so I need 900 grams of roving to spin for a project to get me the meterage of at least 1,000 or over, spinning how I spin, okay, and that's going to cost me £24. Now £4 extra for doing something that you love to do but you're really, really good at spinning, not on the grand scheme of things, is really great. But then if you're wanting to sell those items that you've spun yourselves and you've dyed yourself and all the rest of it, you're probably talking that's cost about, with the dyeing on top of it, the time that it takes to spin it up, the washing of it and everything else. You've got to pre-soak it, you've got to dye it, you've got to then rinse it, and then you've got to dry it, and then you've got to skein it up for that, and all the rest of it, and then wind it into a ball or into a cake or whatever, if you want, like for working wise. So the time goes into this, so it's reflective. So you would probably charge, I don't know, say roughly, if you knitted a hat out of that one, because it's only it's costing you £6 48 for your 350 meters, okay, then you could probably charge say 30 quid, just for talk's sake, for your knitted project, okay, your knitted hat or your scarf, okay. This one works out at £8.10 for the 300 to get nearly the same amount of meterage. Okay, 338, that's 350, that's 338. That is costing you £8.10. To sell that, then you're looking at maybe charging somewhere in the regions of 38 quid to £40. But then that's hand spun, it's handmade, it's got more love and attention in that to a point, because you've spent a couple of hours in a day spinning it all up, and plying it all and doing the process that you do. That justifies that cost inflation on that. Now whether somebody would rather buy this than that, that's a different scenario altogether, but they look the same. There's no difference in the way that the dye is taken to them. Yes, you can tell that, I mean, obviously I don't have a sample of the manufactured yarn, but you can tell it's a rustic yarn. It's got its uneven parts and stuff like that, but that gives it the charm. But it knits up evenly. What needles did I use for doing this? I used 5.4 needles for knitting that up. I like it. I think it's turned out really, really well. I'm really, really impressed with it. So anyway, you guys leave me in the comments down below what you think and the synopsis of the end of this. Would you like any more information put into this chat? I will just go through the details. So the Braywick 4-ply yarn is £6.48 100 grams. It's 100% Shetland wool. It's 350 meters, and you want needles that are 3.25 mil to a 3.75 mil, and you don't iron it, you don't stick it in your tumble dryer, you only hand wash it and you air dry it into shape, okay. And then obviously the Shetland hand spun, which is slightly different because it's been spun from a roving, and that is £2.70 per 100 grams of roving. It's 29 to 31 micron count, and it has a staple length of 9 centimeters. Hand wash again only, and this one is classed as a British wool. Not sure about this one, but this one on the website at World of Wool says it's British wool. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, that's all I've got to say in that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be doing next month will be 23 microcount organic merino. I have got this yarn behind me. I have the roving down below. We'll be doing the same thing again. If you've got a colourway or a colour theme that you'd maybe like me to do next month, let me know. Put your comments down below. Any suggestions or any content that you want me to add to this this theme for this year, then please do let me know. I really would appreciate your feedback on this new theme. I'll be trying to do something like this every year, trying to do something a little bit different, because Patreon should be about all different ranges of the wool craft. Okay, I don't want to concentrate just on one topic this year. I will still be doing bledding in between, especially for the yarn section of this dyeing synopsis, and the costings and everything else. So yeah, please do let me know what you think of this topic, and any other content you want me to put in here, write that down below as well. You will find a heavily edited version of this video on YouTube for the YouTube channel over there, but they haven't got the full, they've literally got about 10-15 minutes, and that's just of the dyeing section, if that, going onto their onto that platform. You guys are getting the full beginning to end of these videos. Okay, so you take care of yourselves. I'll catch you next week. I will be talking about next week different ways to work with pre-blended rovings that you buy from your suppliers. I've got a load of different colours downstairs that I purchased. It's a merino and tussar silk downstairs in my bags, but I'll just show you what I mean. So when you're working with things like this, or you buy or are gifted these pre-blended fibres from your suppliers, how do you want to work with it? If you want to just spin with this straight away, how do you want to work it, prep it, or spin it? So I'll be doing different techniques and different styles, and then spin them up, and then I'll knit them into a swatch, and then you can see what the different effects are like with that. So that's the topics that I'll be filming for the duration of this month, and that'll be shared between Patreon and the YouTube channel. Anyway, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.